In 2022, Alexander Usyk defeated Anthony Joshua for a second time to prove that the first win had nothing to do with luck. The former undisputed cruiserweight champion had won 3 of the heavyweight titles, and he was coming after the 4th, along with the lineal crown.
My personal opinion is we have weight divisions for a reason, and me being an encyclopedia on boxing, and I've studied every heavyweight cruiserweight that's ever lived, when the cruiserweights step up to the big boys, usually they get found wanting. And even the greatest cruiserweights that's ever lived, Evander Holyfield, when he stepped up to the big boys in Big Daddy Bo and Lennox Lewis, he was found wanting. You can beat the average big ones, but you can't beat the elite big ones, because size really matters, and we have weight divisions for a reason.
That final belt and the lineal title belonged to the Big Brick Tyson Fury. After vacating the 3 titles he won beating the great Vladimir Klitschko, the undefeated Gypsy King returned to knock out the longtime WBC champion Deontay Wilder twice to claim the only title he hadn't held.
2-time Ring Magazine heavyweight champion of the world. There's never been a Ring Magazine holder in my era, not one of them. And there hasn't been a lineal in my era either, because all roads led to the Gypsy King. And I was unbeatable at this game.
That same year, Fury fought his mandatory challenger Dillian Whyte, and this was a brilliant step in the right direction for heavyweight boxing. The last heavyweight champion to hold all the belts was Lennox Lewis, but that was in the year 2000. Following his retirement 22 years earlier, there was a revolving door of no less than 36 separate heavyweight reigns. The heavyweight division was a mess of championship belts, but here was Tyson Fury, the man who risked it all for 3 belts, risking it all again with his 4th.
And it doesn't matter if it's Dillian Whyte, doesn't matter if it's Joe Joyce, Derek Chisora, Anthony Joshua, Usyk, it doesn't really matter. Wherever it will stop next, it's always going to be the Tyson Fury Roadshow. And like I said when I was fighting Klitschko, there's only been one man on these shores ever, and he goes by the name of Tyson Fury. I'm the only man on these shores, the only man who can deliver, pull it out every single time when the pressure's on. And even when I'm put down twice in the 4th round, I will get back up and knock a mother out, because that's what I do.
Whyte was the WBC's #1 ranked contender, the biggest threat to Fury's title, and Fury annihilated him in 6 rounds. But Whyte was never really his biggest threat. Usyk had beaten AJ twice to claim the other 3 belts, and AJ had already knocked Dillian Whyte out, so there were at least 2 bigger threats who Fury should have fought next. Instead, he chose Derek Chisora.
When I say Chisora, don't forget, you got the so-called guys in the division that people, these guys are top guys. We offer them big fights, no smoke, no smoke. You offer it to Derek Chisora, boom, he sat here opposite me. Man's got balls, and in today's society, in this boxing game, there's a big lack of balls.
In his day, Chisora was a legitimate threat who went 12 rounds with the knockout monster Vitaly Klitschko back in 2012. By 2022, Chisora had 12 losses to his name, including 3 of his last 4, one of which was to Alexander Usyk. And to top off all that, Fury had already beaten him twice.
Listen, I rate Derek Chisora as highly as I rate Usyk, and I will train as hard for Derek as I would do any man in the world. And if I didn't, I'd have to be an absolute idiot. I will not underestimate Derek Chisora.
Fury TKO'd Chisora with ease, which might have been excusable if Chisora had been a tune-up for a legitimate challenger. That sort of thing is acceptable in the world of boxing, and it wouldn't cost a champ the lineal title. But that's not what happened. Instead of fighting for the undisputed title like he should have, the Gypsy King signed on to face the former UFC heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou.
I will give Francis the respect that he deserves as 1, as a warrior, and 2, as a man, and 3, as a world champion, what he is. He's a big man, very strong, very powerful. It's in my interest to give it the 100% training in camp and bring in the best sparring possible for me.
In the world of MMA, Ngannou was no joke. He'd beaten the UFC heavyweight GOAT Stipe Miocic by knockout to claim the title. And then he defended it against the most skilled striker in the division's history, Cyril Gane. By MMA standards, he was a massive puncher, but this wasn't for a fight in the cage. He wasn't facing a novice. Ngannou was set to face boxing's lineal heavyweight champion in Ngannou's professional boxing debut. It was a joke, and even Fury had to admit it.
If I lose to a #1 contender, another champion, it's like, well, he lost to a champion, whatever. But if I lose to an MMA guy, I'm never going to be able to show my face in public again. It's going to be ridiculed. People are going to chuck it at me forever. So there's more riding on this than there ever has been before. And whether the media want to take it as a joke or whatever they want to take it as, make no mistake, Tyson Fury will leave 0 stones unturned, and I will come in at my fittest and strongest and best I've ever been to defeat this man. And if I'm not, and I get knocked out, I want you all to laugh at me. That's what I want.
If it wasn't bad enough that the world champ seemed to be dodging legitimate contenders, Ngannou took him to a split decision and scored the fight's only knockdown. Ring Magazine stripped him of their lineal title, and Fury's claim was as weak as it had ever been. And what was Usyk doing during this time? Unable to get Fury to face him, Usyk fought his mandatory challenger Daniel Dubois, stopped him in the 9th round, and that's where Usyk and Fury were in their battle for lineal supremacy at the start of 2024. Of the two champions, Usyk held 3 of the 4 belts, and he'd actively pursued legitimate contenders, but he'd never beaten anyone considered the man, and he'd only beaten one genuine contender for the lineal throne. Meanwhile, Fury was wasting everyone's time making money by fighting cans. But he was once the man who beat the man before coming back to become the man again. Not having an undisputed lineal champion is why people lost interest in boxing. But it was the Gypsy King who beat Vladimir Klitschko to become the man. But he still hadn't been beaten. So if the lineal title belonged to Fury or Usyk, the answer was simple.
Tyson, I was watching an interview with Alexander Usyk the other day, and he said that Vladimir Klitschko has reached out and given him some advice, but the
that'd be anti-advice, how to lose to the Gypsy King. How can Vlad, my old pal Vlad, give anybody any advice? Because he would have used it himself, wouldn't he, if he had any advice or any idea how to beat me. It was an absolute one-sided boxing lesson I give to old Vlad. And I believe Vlad was a very good champion, just like this guy is.
Best of his generation.
And I said, if I can't beat old Vlad, I must be useless. And I'll say it again. If I can't beat Usyk, I'm no good, clearly. That's your headline. If Tyson Fury can't beat Usyk, Tyson's no good. End of.
Thanks for watching. And remember, if you want more fight sports in your life, just hit the subscribe button.